Something strange has been happening over the past few years, and once you see it, well, you can't unsee it. There's an entire trend on social media right now where groups of women are running around publicly declaring themselves, and all women for that matter, to be perfect tens. Not as a joke, not as confidence, but as an unquestioned fact. And at first glance, you might think, well, this is just harmless fun. Just confidence, just empowerment. But it's not. Because this mindset is quietly setting them up for failure, heartbreak, and quite possibly mental health issues in ways they don't even realize. Now look, I'm not saying some of those ladies aren't attractive. Of course they are. But are they all 10s? Or even one of them a 10? Well, I think we can all agree certainly not all of them, and to me, not even one of them is. And that's the problem. You see, there's something fascinating happening right now, as I mentioned, and it didn't exist 20 years ago, at least not to the extent that it does now. But thanks to social media, it exists everywhere today, as we saw in this video, and there are millions and millions of others like it. Either individually or in groups, women are walking toward the camera, being confident, proud, and of course thinking and declaring themselves to be perfect tens. Except they aren't. And let's be clear, in their minds, they're not joking. They aren't exaggerating. They genuinely believe it. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, there is nothing wrong with confidence. Confidence is healthy. Confidence is attractive. Confidence is necessary to succeed in life. But confidence and delusion are not the same thing. Confidence comes from reality. Delusion comes from validation. And validation has become the currency of social media. Here's what's really happening and why it's so bad for women. Because these women aren't seeing themselves through a mirror. They're seeing themselves through an algorithm. Seeing themselves through likes, through comments, through strangers telling them exactly what they want to hear. You're perfect. You're flawless. You're a 10, queen. And they're hearing it over and over and over again. Till eventually, inevitably, they truly start to believe it. Not because it's objectively true, but because it's been reinforced thousands of times. And that's where, sadly, the real damage begins. Because when your self-image is built on artificial validation, reality becomes an enemy. Constructive feedback becomes an attack. Normal expectations feel like disrespect. Then suddenly, no one is ever good enough. Not because no one is worthy, but because their perception has been inflated beyond reality. It's why these young women today think they deserve it all. Deserve that perfect 10 man who's got six-pack abs, is 6 feet tall, and of course, has a six-figure income. That perfect 10 man that doesn't exist in the numbers they think it does, and who in reality isn't really all that interested in them because they don't measure up to his level. And this doesn't hurt men. No, men adjust. Men move on. Men adapt to reality whether they like it or not. Which is why I say in the end, this is really hurting women. Because reality eventually arrives. It always does. The wall is undefeated. These women are going to get older. Their looks and their accompanying social media attention will fade. The algorithms will move on and replace them with younger, prettier girls, ones they can't possibly compete with. And as has always been the case, new faces will replace old ones. But when your entire identity is built on validation instead of substance, the fall can, and usually is, devastating, which is what we're starting to see time and time again. While these women have put themselves, and frankly all women, on a pedestal, the reality is there isn't anything stable underneath it. There's no foundation, no resilience, no internal sense of worth independent of strangers' opinions on how they look. And that's not empowering, that's fragile. Because real confidence doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't need to be performed. It doesn't need to be consistently validated over and over again by thousands upon thousands of people. Real confidence is quiet, it's stable, it's unshakable. It comes from knowing who you are. It comes from not convincing yourself that you're something you're not. And the saddest part of all of this is that it's the same system and other women that are telling these women they're all perfect. The same exact ones that will later abandon them, or worse, tear them down the moment they're not new anymore. It's why so many women are struggling with mental health issues, why so many are struggling with body imagery issues. While they want to blame the men for it, the reality is it's other women and they themselves that are the real cause. It's why instead of accepting reality and embracing it, they're choosing to inflate themselves and their egos online, only for it all to inevitably come crashing down. Because social media doesn't care about them. It cares about engagement. It cares about attention. It cares about keeping them chasing validation that never truly satisfies. And that's the trap. Not for men, for them. Because the higher the illusion rises, the harder reality hits when it finally arrives.